She wasn't really interested in much television programming, except for history specials and anything about mining. She loved rocks. She sat down on the side of her bed and thumbed through her bookshelf. Most titles were digital as well as physical these days, but she still loved the feel and smell of an actual book in her hands. She pulled out a well-worn copy of a book on the Little Bighorn fight, one that was written by members of various tribes who'd actually been present. It irritated her that many of the soldiers had said there were no living witnesses to the battle. That was not true. There were plenty of them. Lakota, Cheyenne, Crow, and a host of other men from different tribes who were at the battle and saw exactly what happened. She smiled as she read about how many of them ended up in Buffalo Bill Cody's famous traveling Wild West show. They played before the crowned heads of Europe. They learned high society manners and how to drink tea from fancy china cups. They laughed among themselves at the irony of it. Sitting Bull himself worked for Cody for a time, before he was killed. She loved most to read about Crazy Horse. Like Carson, he was Lakota, which white people referred to as Sioux. Crazy Horse was Oglala, which was one of the subclasses of the tribe. He was light-skinned and a great tactician. There was only one verified photograph of him, which was disputed by some, accepted by others. It showed a rather handsome man with pigtails, wearing a breastplate. There was also a sketch. He had led a war party against General Crook at the Battle of the Rosebud and won it. He led another party against Custer at the Little Bighorn. Until his death, by treachery at the hands of a soldier, he was the most famous war leader of the Lakota. Sitting Bull did not fight. He was not a warrior. He was a holy man who made medicine and had visions of a great battle that was won by the native tribes. Crazy Horse fascinated Carlie. She bought book after book, looking for all she could find in his history. She also had books about Alexander III, called the Great, who conquered most of the civilized world by the age of 30. His ability as a strategist was unequaled in the ancient past. Hannibal, who fought the Romans under Scipio Africanus in the Second Punic War at Carthage, was another favorite. Scipio fascinated her as well. The ability of some leaders to inspire a small group of men to conquer much larger armies was what drew her to military history. It was the generals who led from the front, who ate and slept and suffered with their men, who won the greatest battles and the greatest honor. She knew about battles because her secret vice was an online video game, World of Warcraft. A number of people in Jacobsville and Comanche Wells played. She knew the gamer tags, the names in-game, of only a very few. Probably she'd partnered with some of them in raid groups, but mostly she ran battlegrounds, in player-versus-player matches, but only on weekends, when she had more free time. Gaming took the place of dates she never got. Even if she'd been less moral, she rarely got asked on dates. She could be attractive when she tried, but she wasn't really pretty, and she was painfully shy around people she didn't know. She'd only gone out a couple of times in high school, once with a boy who was getting even with his girlfriend by dating her, although she hadn't known until later, and another with a boy who'd hurt another girl badly and saw Carlie as an easy mark. He got a big surprise. From time to time she thought about how nice it would be to marry and have children. She loved spending time in the baby section of department stores when she went to San Antonio with her father occasionally. She liked to look at knitted booties and lacy little dresses. Once a saleswoman had asked if she had children. She said no, she wasn't married. The saleswoman had laughed and asked what that had to do with it. It was a new world indeed. She put away her book on the Little Bighorn fight and settled in.